Sewing machines are amazing, and even the simplest one, like this one, which is for beginners, can have lots of different stitches. So let's have a look at them to see what they are for and how we can make the most out of them. My machine is a Singer Serenade 2250 and it cost me like 99 or 97 euros in Lidl's 10 years ago. And I've been sewing with it just fine. It's ideal for beginners and it's quite cheap for, if you're just starting to sew and you just don't know if you like it that much, and it's ideal to have in a house to make some curtains, cushions, if you want to hem trousers and things like that, mending and stuff like that. Even if you're not going to sew major clothing projects or major carnival stuff, it's really useful to have. I have some scraps here, of course, to try the different stitches and to see how it works. And of course, depending on what you want to do, you can make it longer or narrower, and it depends on the project, and that's really useful as well. I haven't used the decorative stitches as much, but the rest of them I have, and it's quite so useful. Of course, every machine comes with its manual, and it's quite useful because it brings everything, like how to change the ball. I haven't changed the ball, have you? And things like how to thread it, and all the stitches, which is really good. And they tell you how to use it, the foot you should use with it, and of course the different uses they have. That's quite useful. Maybe you have different stitches to mine, so have a look at yours to see. So I'm going to start with the straight stitch, and you have two options. You have the one that is center in the machine and the one that goes a bit to the right. It doesn't matter, it depends on what you're going to do. If you want to get closer to the edge, you'll choose the other one, but it doesn't affect the sewing. What it does is the stitch length. So if you have a thin fabric like this one, you will want to choose a narrow stitch because it will hold it better. On the contrary, if you have a thicker fabric, you will better use a longer stitch because it'll hold the fabric better. If you use a narrow one, a shorter one, the holes are too close to each other, and in some fabrics, like for example leather, you can even rip the fabric because of that, because of the strength of the stitches, and being that close, it can mean that. So that's a little tip. Zigzag stitching is really useful when, for example, you don't want something to fray, so you will sew the edge with a zigzag stitch, although there are other stitches, but it's quite useful. And on the same way, you can use it when you've already sewn two panels together and you want to keep them in place. You can sew them together with a zigzag stitch, although you should open the seam and finish both sides apart. But if it's a really thin material, it's always nice to do it together as well. Of course, zigzag stitch is ideal for stretchy materials or jerseys because it allows you to stretch, and depending on the project you can use different width or length and you'll get completely different stitches. Look at how the stitch changes depending on the length you choose and the width. And if you combine the two opposite things, a really narrow zigzag stitch with a really long stitch, it combines perfectly into a very decorative stitch, really thick, really close together. You can't see the zigzag. It's just really nice and decorative for any edge, any pouch bag you're making. It looks really good. And the next stitch is the stretch stitch, which is like a zigzag, but it comes apart. It comes divided in like 3 little stitches on each side, and it's ideal for me in my case. The problem I have with this machine is that sometimes it doesn't sew stretchy materials or knits or lycras properly, but with this it doesn't really matter, because if it skips a stitch you don't really notice. On the other hand, if it skips a zigzag stitch you notice, because there's a hole on your sewing, but with this one it's fine. It's ideal because it stretches, and if it's missing something, it doesn't really matter. The next stitch I haven't used because, I don't know, I haven't sewed anything like this, but it's the invisible hem stitch. And it's really good for trousers or things like that. You don't want anything, you don't want a seam. So I'll take it into account, and next time I sew something like that, I'll use it. And what you have to do, I've used this type of hem with t-shirts and it looks really good, and you just have to fold once, and then instead of folding to the same side, you fold back, like when we used to do fans as little children with pieces of paper. And on this pleat is where you're going to sew. And when you open it, you can see one stitch, but the rest is hidden. So with the right color thread, it will be really nice. So next time I'll do it. One stitch I love is the overlock style stitch. It's this square little one, and I really like it because it means you don't need a serger, or if you haven't got one, you don't have to be afraid of sewing materials that fray a lot. And if you had the overlock foot, it's much better, but if not, you can do it with this as well. It's ideal because it goes right to the edge and it avoids fabrics from fraying. And for the next two ones, I'm going to be honest, I haven't used them because I haven't found any projects for them, but I take them, I'll have them in mind, so next time maybe I can do something with them. And it is decorative stitches. Years ago they used to use them a lot in tablecloths and serviettes, but nowadays it's not as common. But it would be nice at the hem on a dress, so I'll have it in mind. What a patience you need to make a whole tablecloth with this hemming. Of course it looks lovely. And the 3 stitches left are for making buttonhole, for which you're going to need this foot press, the one that has the little bit that moves and it has marks on the side. The machine brings it, don't worry. So it moves, so you can choose the size button you're going to sew the buttonhole for, and once you know that, you can start. The steps are quite easy to follow because on each one you have marked the side you're going to be sewing, so it's quite easy. You go from 1, 2, 3 and 4, and you need to choose a short stitch and be careful with the amount you're going to sew depending on the size of your button. And when it's time to change stitch, to go to step 2, always with your needle up in case you break it. Why weren't you sewing? What patience we need sometimes. So these are the stitches my machine has. It's a really basic machine, really affordable, and it's ideal for beginners. And if you are not quite sure if you like sewing that much or if you're going to use it that much, even for mending and doing things around the house, it's quite the machine. So even though I've sewn this much, I haven't used, there's still 3 stitches I haven't used, which is amazing, and I think I'll be using the invisible hemming one. I think it's quite interesting. The next time I sew something like that, I've done the folding for the hemline for t-shirts, but not with this type of stitch, which is quite good. And the decorative stitches I haven't used, and it will take ages to do something with it, but I have to admit it's quite nice. It's really nice when you see something like that, because it means it's been done patiently and by hand. So let me know down in the comments what you thought. If you have this kind of machine, what you use all those stitches for, and don't forget to subscribe if you like this kind of content, because I upload twice a week and you can even share it with someone who might like it. And I'll see you again next week, and I'll leave you here a list of other videos talking about the sewing machine, how to clean it, or the embroidery foot I've used and things like that. So stick around for a while. Bye.